Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. We're on the opposite side of the clock to normal for today's podcast. So, super pumped to try out this slightly different time zone. Let us know if you are watching in live. We're going to be kickstarting this episode in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and we are ready to rock and roll. This is going to be a bit of an episode that's inspired by my coach, but I'm going to kind of tweak it because I think it's important that it's in the guise of what's important for you. So we're going to be talking in this episode a little bit about staying in momentum, because ultimately this is the big thing. It's about staying in momentum for as long as possible, and when you fall off the horse, obviously getting back on again. So let us know if you're coming in to watch this one live, guys. It'd be interesting to see the time zones and the different heads that come into this one. Hello, Ames. How are you, girl? Lovely to have your company in here this morning. Well, this morning for me, it's for you guys, obviously, afternoon time. So I hope you've had a beautiful day, girl. Guys, if you are coming into this one, I'd love you to hashtag live or say hi in the comments so we can see who's cruising in. And it's, what are we? It's about 9:30 here this morning. And I just want to apologize kind of apologize, I guess, to those of you that are inside the academy. I missed this morning's typical Monday podcast, and the reason is because I was sitting at dinner with my family, and I was looking across at them, and it's kind of like, oh man, it's getting to podcast time. I had the session prepped, but was at the point where it's just like, at some point in time on a Sunday afternoon, I have to look at my family and say, hey guys, I'm all here for attention. So I do apologize, but I'm making up for it as soon as possible. All right, so we're going to get started in 1 minute. Hello, Tezzy. Lovely to have your company here. JC Williams, what's going on, mate? I'm back. I love that. Hello, Ash. Good morning. Good afternoon, I should say. Hello, Jamie. Hope you're well. Rosso, how you going, buddy? Love that I have your company here today as well. We've got Warren Todd's in here. Toddy, congratulations on the 20 kilos weight loss, mate. What a king. We've got Trent Barnett. How are you, Barnes? Good to have your company here today, mate. Hello, Kev in the UK. I hope you're good. Guys, I reckon we are ready to get started. This is going to be a quick fire episode, and I'm super pumped to bring it to you. Good morning, Kenny. I hope you're well. All right, guys, let's go. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. Of course, this is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, I am making up for an episode that I didn't do earlier today for some family reasons, and we're going to be talking about 7 critical mindsets to remain in momentum. Now, feel free to comment along on this episode if you have opinion, and I also would suggest just like getting a little piece of paper or taking your phone and scribbling these little pieces of advice down. These are a combination of what I have learned and also an episode or some teachings that I've garnished off one of my coaches to help me stay on track. And I've tweaked them, the ones that I've kind of got from him, a little bit to be relevant to the transformation of our minds and body. Now, why is this important? Well, I think momentum is so important because we think that we need to be 100%, 100 mile an hour all of the time. And the truth is, we don't. We don't need to be 100% all of the time. That's not how this works. In fact, if we break this down, it is consistency over time that makes all the difference. But one of my keys is making sure that in being consistent, okay, we don't have to be going crazy all the time. We just have to be consistent over small increments of time and then watch those little things add up and build up. So let's start at the top. Number 1 is, if you want to stay in momentum, you need to develop this key mindset, which is stop taking advice from people that you would not trade places with. Now, this can be really, really hard because we've all got, mums and best friends and partners, which can obviously be the source of a lot of problem, who say, you shouldn't do this and you should do this, and they want to give you advice right throughout your transformation. And then you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, firstly, this person's not an expert in what I need to know. But more importantly, you got to ask yourself, this person that's providing me with advice or opinion, would I trade places with this person? If I look at myself, as an individual and the people that I take advice off, I'm looking and thinking the first thing I want to ask is, okay, is this someone who I would want to be like? Is this someone that I respect? Is this someone that I appreciate their way of life? Is this someone that have a work ethic that I admire? Ultimately, is this someone that I would, for whatever I'm trying to change, trade places with? So in your case, for example, if you're tuning into this podcast, part of the reason is that you want to obviously get to a point where your health and fitness at whatever age you are at is good and you're happy and it's functional and allows you to do the things that you want to do. So if you look at me and don't have any inclination to think, well, I would like that. I would like to be 40 years old and keeping up with my kids and traveling around the world and being able to be able and being able to enjoy life and being able to have abundant energy. If that's not something that you would want to trade places with, then stop listening to me. Don't turn into this podcast, because the material that I'm going to serve you up is serving the person who wants those things. Where we go wrong is when we start to consume material that is advice that you should not take, that is not in alignment with the man or the woman that you are. So number one is stop taking advice of people that you wouldn't trade places with. And this does unfortunately have to include your close relatives and often your partner. You have to have enough emotional maturity to be able to say to the person, thank you, I appreciate your opinion, and then quickly walk away and do something different because it's not relevant to you. Number two, and I love this so much, is to find a vision, and this takes time, find a vision that you can aspire to, a mentor that can guide you, and a bunch of friends or comrades that will get in the trenches with you. Let's say that again. Find a vision that you can aspire to, a mentor that can guide you, and a group of friends or comrades who will get in the trenches with you. Look, if you're on a physical transformation, or for that matter, a transformation of any kind, it is going to be freaking hard. It is going to be hard. Why is it going to be hard? Because I want you to break down this word transform. Trans means change. Form. Your form. You need to change your form. Now, if you don't have a vision that you are trying to move towards, a mentor that is helping guide you towards that vision, and a group of people who are on the same path as you, supporting you, you're effectively doing this on your own and feeling around in the dark. When I go back to my original coaching days, here was the circumstance. In terms of those three things, I was unclear on what the vision should look like. I knew I wanted to be a coach, but I didn't know exactly what that would look like. So that was the first problem. I was getting up in the morning, getting frustrated about not being able to create this vision that I had because the vision was unclear. So for you, what is your vision? Where do you want to be with your weight? Where do you want to be with your life, your mindset? We need to put some time into creating the future destination, because if you've got no clarity in what that future destination looks like, how can you move towards it? The second part to it is having a mentor to guide you. The reality is, I am paying hand over fist for coaches. Why am I doing that? Is because I am not happy with where my life is. I'm grateful, absolutely, but I'm paying for acceleration. I don't want to spend the next 10 years trying to do something that a mentor can guide me to in a year or two. To me, I think a lot of men and women, they only value one currency, and that's money. And they don't start to value the other currency until it's too late. And what's that other currency? The currency is time. We get to a point where maybe we hit our 50s or our 60s and all we wish for is more time. But the problem is we spent all of our time preserving our money, and then we get to the kind of middle ages or the end of our life, our health is absolute garbage and shit. We've got all the money, but we don't have any health to be able to use it. And that just sounds completely crazy to me. So whether it's our academy or whether it's someone independent for you, you need to get a mentor. And most importantly out of these, I think, is getting a crew of comrades around you. The truth is, there's nothing more motivating than being surrounded by people who are in change and in transformation just like you. Because what it does is it strengthens your resolve. It shows you that you're another guy who is trying to do things that other people are and have done before. We all know about the 4-minute mile. When you're surrounded, when you have people in your community that are setting the pace, all of a sudden it makes it so much more doable for you. It's all great to have a mentor or a coach telling you what you should be doing, but in your kind of mind of minds, perhaps you're thinking, oh yeah, but this person's different. They're a health coach. They've always been like this. But if you can wake up in the morning and be surrounded by people, either in your family, your community, or your friendship group, like our academy, and you know that these aren't men and women that have always been fit and healthy. These are men and women that are doing it right now. This is going to help you to move through those more difficult times. And so this is key point number 2. Mindset number 2 is to find a vision that you can aspire to, a mentor that can guide you, and a group of friends or comrades that can get in the trenches with you. Number 3 is don't limit yourself to avoid judgment from others. Oh, this is big, okay? Don't limit yourself to avoid judgment of others. I think what we do a lot of the time is we start to make progress, but then we reel ourselves in, right? We reel ourselves in because we are worried about people thinking that we are trying to rock the boat too much. And I'll give you an example. Let's say, obviously, I'm going bull at a gate to fulfill our Better Body Academy mission. And I start to think to myself, what if people are getting sick of seeing me? And what if I'm posting too much on social media? And all of a sudden, the things that are working, I stop doing because of fear of judgment. Does this make sense? So for you, the things that you are getting there, that are getting you there are working. What are you self-sabotaging because you're worried about looking silly in front of other people? Maybe it's pushing for an extreme goal, like I want to lose 40 kilograms, for example. Or maybe it's I want to do a half marathon. Or maybe it's I want to be able to squat 50 kilograms. Whatever it is for you, if you are curbing your vision, you're pulling things down because you don't want to either look like you're trying to be too good for everyone else, or alternatively, you don't want to fail in front of other people, you're limiting yourself. And you need to be willing to push through the judgment of other people. The people that are judging you, more often than not, are doing so because they don't have the capacity to be like you. And when I look at people like Kev Grant, I don't know if he's still watching this video, he's kilos upon kilos down, and he's documenting that into his public life because he's proud of himself. And what that's creating is massive motivation and momentum. He's proud of the man he's becoming. But if at a certain point you start to pull that back because you're worried about the judgment of others, we call this fear of failure or fear of judgment. But what it actually is breaking it down, is fear of looking like a dick in front of people. And guess what? Life has very little to do with how you look in front of other people and everything to do with what you do. And if you can become the master at doing stuff, even when you're being judged, you will prevail. And those same people that are judging you will be looking at you thinking, my gosh, I wish I could be like him or her. So that's mindset number 3. Mindset number 4 is to consume less junk, useless information. It's really funny in physical transformations, of course, and as a dietitian, I'm always talking about the junk that we consume through our mouth and our body, right? But I think actually the much more polluting junk is the junk that we are consuming that we're kind of writing off as relaxation, or we're writing off as needing to keep up with the news. But it's information that is taking away from us having a rock solid mindset. I'll give you an example. I don't know if it's still on in Australia, but the amount of people who are glued to their television sets at, is it 6:30 at night, to watch shows like A Current Affair, where it's like scam, builder goes broke and leaves people without a house. Like, how is that ever going to help you do better in your life? It's masquerading as a current affair, but actually all it actually is soap opera, right? Dressed up as news. I mean, it might be harsh to say, but do you really need to know the intricacies of every single thing that's going on in the war in between Russia and the Ukraine to be able to live and improve your life and the time that you spend on this planet? Probably not. It's extremely sad. I totally get it. But if you're washing your mind with information that's completely useless to you, it's stopping you from having the capacity to take on things that will actually benefit you. And you know what? I'm guilty of this sometimes when I'm sitting down having a poo and I decide to open news.com to keep up with what's going on in Australia. And then I look down at all these clickbait headings and I think to myself, what the fuck am I reading this? Like, why am I reading this? This is completely useless information to me. So be mindful that consumption isn't just through here, it's through here and it's through here. What are you consuming that's shaping who you are becoming? Now, this can include things like Netflix, for example. If you're complaining about the status of your life, but you're spending all of your time just watching Netflix series, which you can get binge worthy on and just end up in a Netflix hole for days, like, do you think that's possibly contributing to your motivation? I don't think so. So it's not that you shouldn't watch Netflix. It's not that you shouldn't enjoy some downtime. I'm not suggesting that. I'm simply making a point that saying that I've got no time and complaining about your circumstances when you are feeding all of your available time junk into your mind, that's the problem. Change the source of the information that you fuel yourself. God forbid, pick up an audiobook. Listen to a podcast like this where we're trying incrementally to change things. Number 5, we got 7 mindsets here, 7 critical mindsets. Number 5 is to document into existence. Now, what does this mean? Well, anyone inside Better Body Academy will know exactly what I'm talking about and how I am a huge fan of posting into a community your wins, your challenges, your questions. I don't know if I've ever properly broken down why I think this is so damn important. Well, I want you to imagine that you worked really hard and you got to a monetary or financial goal that you were to aspire to, okay? And you've been working on this for a long period of time and you were super proud about your work ethic, but the idea of kind of celebrating the win that come with that, the outcome that come with that, you've got no one to support you. So you keep it to yourself. And what ends up happening is it becomes, you can't fully celebrate the man or woman that you've become through your hard work. And I think the same is true of a transformation. It's going to be rocky. Your transformation is not going to happen in a, weight loss never happens in a straight line. I've never seen any person where weight loss has happened in a straight line. So what we need to be able to do is prepare ourselves for those times that it's gonna get tough. What could be more powerful than looking back at a series of posts that you made when you were feeling shit, you're feeling a low point of motivation, and looking back at 20 posts, starting maybe 3 or 4 months ago when you were 15 to 20 kilos heavier than you are now. And all of a sudden, over the course of the last 4 to 6 months, whatever it is for you, the timeline, all of a sudden, you've seen change in you that you can't quite fathom mentally. Your body has changed so much. What could be more powerful than saying, holy shit, like, that is me. That is me. I can do this. You see, when you document your journey into existence, you do two things. Number one, you create evidence of the sort of person that you are. You create evidence. The second thing that you do is I want you to think of it like casting a vote. Every time you follow through and you say, today I'm going to go to the gym, and then you go to the gym, and then you post a photo into our community of going to the gym. You've just cast one single vote for the type of person that you are. Over the course of a year, can you imagine how this would improve your self-belief, your self-confidence? Just from documenting, I did this. I had a healthy meal. Here's what it was. Not only that, you'll inspire the other members of our community. What if you went for 3 months hitting your 10,000 steps and you documented that you did that, and then you got to the end of that and you were able to say, I walked 1,000,000 steps or whatever it was. This is proof of the person, the man or woman that you are becoming. And I think a lot of us, what we do is we stop ourselves from celebrating our successes, as small as they might be, the little wins that we have along the way. And here's the reason why. We have fear of judgment. We don't want to, we think, oh yeah, I should post that. And then we don't want to look back and think, oh, you know what? Like I shouldn't have posted that because like people might think that I'm trying to be like, think I'm fucking all about myself or whatever. No, inside of our academy, we want you to post. And if you want evidence of this, if you're new inside our academy, just look to the guys and girls that are winning. The guys that are 10, 20, 30 kilos down. The guys that are completely shifting their lifestyle and moving into more better careers. The people that are enjoying time with their families and their kids. What is happening? They're the people that are documenting into the group. It's like phenomenal that the connection there is not made. Have a look at the men's and women's group, those mastermind students that understand the documentation process. They document, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're a completely different human. So, number five, is to document into existence. We've got two more. Number 6 is to understand that everybody, including absolutely myself, starts as an imposter, faking it until they make it. So if you're inside our academy right now, for you to start posting into the group, what's going to happen is you're going to have this kind of feeling that, but like, why am I posting into the group? Why am I documenting my journey? I'm still 50 kilos overweight, as an example. Why am I documenting my journey? There's Nico over here that's squatting 250 kilograms and I'm squatting 4 kilograms. It's like, no, at the start, we are all imposters. We are all just trying to do our best. And then what happens is by keeping ourselves in momentum for a period of time, we start to carve out the type of person that we want to become. And that reinforces our strength. That reinforces our kind of confidence, our self-belief. And so at the start, if you're new inside the academy and you're feeling, or maybe that you've stopped posting for a while and you've disappeared, you're kind of like doing that thing where they're pulling the curtains up and you've disappeared. Stop. Pull the covers back. Be accountable. The only way that you're going to get ahead in your transformation is if you realize that failure is part of the process. And that's such a cliche to say, but you've got to mess up. Like, it's good to mess up, because when you mess up, you teach yourself a little bit of a lesson. And it might be, hey, you shouldn't have had so much wine last night. That wrecks your gym sessions the next day. Or, hey, you need to kind of stop going so hard at the gym, pull it back a little bit because that makes you sore too much and then you can't train for the next 5 days. It's the feedback from failure that helps you carve out the lessons of the future. So you've got to be willing to fail. All right, last mindset. So I'm going to go back through at the end, but I'm going to give you number 7. And that is, in order to stay in momentum, we need to look for the 1%ers rather than massive overhauling change. Okay, we need to look for the 1%ers rather than looking for massive overhauling change. At the start, okay, because your body is not adapted, what will happen is you will go through some pretty profound changes if you just stick to our Better Body Academy plan, the trifecta system. If you just stick to that at the start, fat loss will happen quite rapidly as you shift your habits. What will happen is all of a sudden your strength will develop quite quickly because your body has never done strength training before. And it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And your strength, the curve will be like a hockey stick at the start. It'll be like whoosh. And that's a good thing. And that's great because what it actually does is keeps you motivated. It provides you the feedback to stay in momentum, and that momentum creates future motivation. The challenge comes when the change velocity, the change pace slows down slightly, okay? It's not, imagine that you continue to lose weight at the rate of 2 kilograms per week. Do you think that would maybe endanger your survival? Like it doesn't work that way. If you're 100 kilograms and you wanted to get down to 80 kilograms and you lost 2 kilos a week for the first 3 or 4 weeks, but it continued at that rate, soon enough, you'd be 0 kilograms and you'd not survive. So it's not going to continue at the pace that it starts. So what we need to do is stop looking for these massive overhauling wins. Why didn't I jump on the scales this morning and lose 3 kilograms? No. We need to look for the 1%ers. And what are those 1%ers? What is your squat weight doing? Are you getting stronger? What's your waist circumference doing? How much are you changing your water intake over the course of a day? How much are you noticing that you're able to eat more calories and still manage your weight during the process of reverse dieting, as an example, if that's where you're up to? How is your flexibility improving? The point is there are marginal gains that are there to be acknowledged and that are there to reinforce your behavior. But if you're only paying attention to the macro weight loss thing, you're focusing on something that you really can't change, and it's not that beneficial. Instead, we'd be better to focus on the 1%ers, the process. And as a little kind of additional tip, whatever successful actions that you are repeating that have brought you the results, don't stop doing those successful things. Here's what happens. A lot of people, guys and girls, they start on, as an example, the meal plan. They start with their nutrition tracking. They lose 5 to 10 kilograms, and then they stop doing the thing that was actually working. It is a form of self-sabotage, but why do we stop doing the thing that's working? For me, I'll give you an example in my life. I just know that if I continue to show up for my clients, if I continue to show up for people who want to be part of our academy, I'm live with these podcasts as often as possible. I just continue to show up. I don't get attached to how many people are watching it. I don't care how many people are watching it. I don't care how many people are sharing it. I just care about showing up and doing the process. And if you do the same thing, exactly the same thing will happen. You'll reach a point where all of a sudden you break through. I'm looking at people like Lucas here, or Matt Harvey, Trent Barnett, Amy Richards. These are people that through repetition, through grinding, have got to the point where they eventually pop through. And when I say grinding, I don't mean in a negative way. I mean just sticking to the plan. Stop looking for these miracle overnight successes, where instead, just keep it the 1%ers. So guys, I'm going to give you, again, in summarized fashion, the 7 mindsets, the critical mindsets to you keeping in momentum. Don't take advice off people that you wouldn't trade places with. Big one. Number 2, find a vision for yourself to aspire to, a mentor to guide you, and a friend group to get in the trenches with you. Stop limiting yourself for fear of being judged by others. Number 4 is to consume less junk. This is a really easy implementable one tonight. For a lot of our Aussie guys, girls, it's 7 o'clock or something like that PM. What do you do from here? Do you go and just start aimlessly flicking through TV, glued to the box? Or could you do something that makes you feel good, that makes you have a better relationship, that improves your intelligence, or even relaxes you in a productive way? Number 5 is to document into existence. When you document, you create evidence of the guy or girl that you are that you can reflect on in the future. Number 6 is to understand that at the start, it's going to feel like impostership. It's going to feel like you're faking it. Keep faking it until you make it. Number 7 is, rather than looking for the monumental overnight change, is to look for the 1%ers. It's those 1%ers that you start to see 6 months, 12 months down the line that add up to completely overhaul your behaviors. Guys, this podcast, I think, is one that we should refer to when we start to feel a little bit out of momentum. Pin this podcast for yourself. Write down the number 151. And next time you're starting to feel like it's getting a little bit of a struggle, re-listen to the podcast on the podcast player and just think, okay, cool, right, let's cut out the noise and let's focus on what works. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you at a slightly different time today, making up for an earlier miss. I hope you guys have had a beautiful, beautiful day and a lovely start to the week. We will see you in the next episode.